And here I am for Chapter 3, Black Hawk. Jack stared at a circle of steps ahead. Busy people in buckskins moved about the circle. Horses and ponies grazed nearby. Jack took out his research book and found a picture of the teepees. He read, "In the early 1800s, many different Native American tribes lived on the Great Plains. The Lakota were the largest tribe. They lived mostly in the areas we now call North Dakota, South Dakota, and Minnesota." Jack pulled out his notebook and wrote, "Early 1800s. Lakota were largest tribe of the Great Plains." Behind Jack and Annie, a horse neighed. They turned. A horse and rider were heading towards the teepee camp. The sun was very bright behind the rider. Jack could only see the outline of the body, with a bow and a quiver of arrows on his back. Jack quickly flipped through the book. He found a picture of a man on a horseback carrying a bow and arrows. Below the picture it said, "Lakota warrior." Jack read, "Everything changed for the Native Americans of the Great Plains after white settlers arrived in the mid-1800s. Fighting broke out between the Lakota warriors and the white soldiers. By the end of the 1800s, the Lakota were defeated. They lost both their land and their old way of life." Jack looked back at the rider. The warrior was coming closer. "Get down," he whispered. "Why?" said Annie. "This might be a time when the Indians are fighting with the settlers," said Jack. The grass rustled as the warrior passed by them. The horse neighed again. "Arf, arf!" "Shh!" whispered Jack. But it was too late. The warrior had heard Teddy's barking. He galloped towards them, grabbing his bow. "Wait!" shouted Jack. He climbed up from the grass. "We come in peace!" The rider halted. Now Jack saw that he was only a boy on a pony. He couldn't have been more than 10 or 11. "Hey, you're just a kid," Annie said, smiling. The boy didn't smile back, but he did lower his bow while he stared at Annie. "What's your name?" she asked. "Black Hawk," he said. "Cool name," said Annie. "We're Jack and Annie. We're just visiting. We live in Frog Creek, Pennsylvania." Black Hawk nodded. Then he turned his pony around and started towards the Lakota camp. "Hey, can we come with you?" called Annie. Black Hawk looked back. "Yes," he said. "Meet my people." "You mean your parents?" said Annie. "No, they died a long time ago," said Black Hawk. "I live with my grandmother." "Oh, I'd like to meet your grandmother," said Annie. I'm going to see my grandmother today, too." Black Hawk nudged his pony forward again. Annie followed it with Teddy. Jack didn't move. What if the Lakota are at war with the white settlers, he worried. What if they think we're enemies? "Annie," Jack called softly. "We don't know if it's safe or not." But Annie just waited for him to come on. Jack sighed. He opened the research book and quickly flipped through the pages. He wanted information about how to act with the Lakota. On one page he read, "Good manners to the Lakota means speaking as few words as possible and sharing gifts when visiting." On the other page he read, "The Lakota admire those who do not show fear." Jack's favorite piece of information was, "Holding up 2 fingers means friend." Jack put the book away. He ran to catch up with Annie. Annie was telling Black Hawk all about their grandmother. The boy listened silently. "Annie," whispered Jack, "I just read that it's good manners to be quiet. And we should give gifts to not show fear. Also, holding up 2 fingers means friend." Annie nodded. "Got that?" said Jack. "Sure," she said. "No talking, no fear, no problem." Jack looked up. He caught his breath. Ahead of them, the people at the campsite had stopped what they were doing. All eyes were turned on Jack and Annie. Jack quickly held up 2 fingers. Annie did the same. Chapter 4. Good Manners. Black Hawk led Jack and Annie towards the teepees. Everyone kept watching them. Jack couldn't tell what anyone was thinking. No one looked angry, but no one looked happy either. Jack wondered how to appear brave. He glanced at Annie. She walked tall and straight. Her chin was up and her face was calm. Jack straightened his shoulders. He lifted his chin, and he felt braver. Black Hawk stopped and slid off his pony. The pony headed for the grazing pasture. Then Black Hawk led them to a teepee. It was covered with buffalo designs. "Grandmother is inside," Black Hawk said to Jack and Annie. Inside, the teepee looked like a small round room. A fire burned in the center. Smoke rose through the hole at the top. An old woman sat on animal skins. She was sewing beads onto a moccasin. She looked up at Jack and Annie. "Grandmother," said Black Hawk, "this is Jack and Annie from Frog Creek, Pennsylvania." Jack and Annie both held up 2 fingers for friend. Grandmother raised 2 fingers also. Then Jack took off his coonskin cap. He gave it to Grandmother. She put the cap on her head, then laughed. Jack and Annie laughed too. Grandmother's laughter and kind face reminded Jack of his own grandmother. "You wish to learn our ways?" she said. Jack and Annie nodded. Jack could tell she was wise. Grandmother stood and left the teepee, then they followed her. Outside, everyone was busy again. They all seemed to know that Jack and Annie weren't enemies. Jack looked around the camp. Men and boys carved bows. Women and girls pounded meat and sewed clothes. One girl was adding claws to a buckskin skirt. The bear claws will give her the strength of a bear," said Grandmother. "She will sew on hawk feathers, elk teeth, and porcupine quills, too. All will give her the power of the animals." Jack pulled out his notebook and wrote, "Sew bear claws to shirt." "I have strong animal powers when I go on a buffalo hunt," Black Hawk said proudly. "What do you mean?" said Jack. "I will show you," said Black Hawk. Wait. Black Hawk went back inside the teepee. Annie turned to Grandmother. "Why does he hunt the buffalo?" she asked. "The buffalo give our people many gifts," said the old woman. "Food from his body, teepees from his skin, tools from his bones." Jack started making a list. "Cups from his horns," Grandmother went on, "ropes from his hair, even winter sleds from his ribs." Jack finished his list. Buffalo, skin teepee, bones tools, horns cups, hair ropes, ribs sleds. "That reminds me of the seal hunter in the Arctic," said Annie. "He used all the gifts from the seal's body. He didn't waste a thing." Just then, Teddy began growling and barking. Jack and Annie turned around. They both gasped. Coming out of Grandmother's teepee was a huge wolf. And that's the end of chapter 4. So we'll have to find out what the wolf is going to do in chapter 5. And that's coming up right now.